Hi, this is Honorée Corder. I'm the author of You Must Market Your Book. And in my episode for the Business Growth Architect Show, we are going to share with you how to write, publish, and monetize your book. And we also talk a little bit about the difference between independent and traditional publishing. So you're going to want to listen.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. And welcome back. This is Beate Gillette, your host for the Business Growth Architect Show. And today you are in for a treat. I am having here live with me Honorée Corder, and we're going to talk about books, but it's not going to be what you think it's going to be, because this woman has it figured out on how to sell these books. And I couldn't be more excited. Honorée, it is an honor to have you here. You're welcome to the show.
I want to say I love you in German, but I just forgot how to say it.
Ich liebe dich.
Ich liebe dich. Ich liebe dich.
Exactly. So Tell somebody who has never shockingly heard about you or does not know what you do, who are you?
Well, you're so funny because I think there are probably 8 billion people on the planet and almost 8 billion have never heard of me, but thank you. You're very sweet. So I am Honorée Corder. I am an author. I write, publish, and help professionals to write, publish, and monetize their books. I've done a TEDx talk and all things books. So I'm all on the indie side, all on the independent publishing side. And it's all things books, right? Whatever, I read the books, I write the books, I work on the books. That's what I do.
Yeah, I also follow you on Goodreads, and the amount of books you read is ridiculous. It's like I'm getting a complex every week. It's like read the book. I'm like, how does she do that?
I took a speed reading class like 20 years ago, and I learned a few techniques about like strategy with reading and then also how to read faster. So I tripled my reading speed. And so it's actually some science to it as well. Also, the fact that the more you read, the more you read, the faster you read. So it's a skill in as much as it's also tactical and strategic.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's even worth pointing it out, but of course, we want everybody who listens to this to read more books for many reasons. What I want to dive in with you is the concept of having a book. I cannot even begin. There's gazillion people out there that talk about you have to have the book, you have to have the book. And then there are so many different things about this. So I would like you to just take our audience through the thought process, why the book, how the book, and then we're going to spend some time on selling the book.
All right. So why to write a book? In my mind, it's very simple because books are the one thing that differentiate experts from other experts. If you line up 5 people or 10 people and they all say, I'm excellent at what I do, the person who has written and published a book is automatically elevated as the authority. You can say, I have this education, I have this many years of experience, I've experienced these other things, I've had these detours in my career, I've done all of these things, and yet a book seems to be, and still, right, I've been doing this a long time, and I keep waiting for there to be something else, but I don't think there will be, right? The thing that elevates people in the minds of anyone you hand a book to. So it does not matter if I'm at a cocktail party, a Super Bowl party, a networking event. When someone asks me what I do, I see them go from, I think most people think I'm a realtor. I'm not sure why. When they meet me, they're like, are you in real estate? I'm like, I'm not in real estate. Thank you. I think I'm an author and I help professionals become authors. And they're like, you've written a book? And then it's like, what book have you written? And where do I find it? And I've always wanted to write a book. And so it's an interesting thing being in my profession, but then I've also helped people to become authors and they don't quite believe me. They think like when you tell someone, go to this restaurant, it's the best food you've ever had. And they're a little skeptical, like, okay, I don't really know.
Good Italian food. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. You don't get good Italian food except in Italy. And then they go to this little place that's run by some Italian family that's immigrated. And then you have this Italian food and they're like, oh my gosh, this is authentic. This is amazing. Right. It's exactly the same thing with having a book. So why a book is because it's the thing that's going to differentiate you from every other person who says that they are as good as or better than you at what it is that you do, regardless of what it is that you do. The how piece is a little tricky. So I'll just give you my 4 cornerstones of a professionally published book, because at some point I would like the conversation not to be, are you indie published? Are you hybrid published? Are you traditionally published? I'd like it to be just publishing, right? Like now it's just music,
Yeah,
right?
and that is a really a big differentiation factor. Is like people say, are you with a real publisher? Are you with like one of the whatever 10 big publishing
The
firms,
big
or
five is
the
the,
big
I think that,
the big
yeah,
five, right?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
that makes you automatically have more credibility because they may or may not have a budget to publish the book. And I
right.
think that if somebody, let's face it, I mean, if one of the big five comes to me and says, Beate, can we publish your book? I'm certainly not going to say no to that. However, you have explained this to me that while that might look good on the outside,
Mhm.
the reality of publishing a book with rights and secondary rights and republishing in other languages, that they could be absolutely disastrous because of the rights grab and things like that, which I don't think we really have all that much time to go in today. I just want to put it out there because you've talked to me about this.
Yeah,
And
for
we
sure.
met when you wrote this Successful Single Mom, which is like a
Yes,
gazillion years ago,
right.
and which was very early in the beginning of when you started Crack the Code of that. So
Yes.
today, I just want to make sure that we have had that conversation that there is
Oh,
traditional
sure.
publishing and that
Right.
is its own beast, but we talking right now about indie because that gives our audience the power to
Awesome.
do stuff immediately.
So I do want to say one thing about it though, is like
Ooh,
when you think about if a big publisher comes to you, or even not a big publisher, because there are some, some really well established traditional publishing houses, if they come to you, it's a business decision. They're coming to you because they believe that you can sell books, right? They're not going to come and say, Beate, we want to publish your book and sell 10 copies. They have an expectation that they're investing in you. They're doing a joint venture with you, the author, to sell a lot of books.
that's how they make business, which is why, the platform and
Yeah.
how many people do you reach? How big is your list? How big is your social
Yeah.
media following? How
Yeah.
engaged is your following? All of these things factor in, which
Yeah.
is why I think that the traditional publisher, and as sexy as it sounds to do that now, that's a whole other strategy because it requires a much larger machine to throw on. And then you have to go on tour and there's money involved. And I mean, it gets pretty intense. So
Yes.
you mentioned that there is, the how to write a book. And, we're going to give our audience some pointers on how they actually can learn your method because I know you're going to tell them how to do that. But
Yes.
let's just give them an overview. You mentioned the 4 pillars of writing a book, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes. So the 4 cornerstones of a professionally published book are the design. So you want great cover design and interior design. You need to have a great editorial process. And I'm breaking those into pillar 1 and pillar 2, which is the editing, which can be several layers. You can have a content editor, you can have a developmental editor, you can have a line editor, right? So it depends on how many books you've written or how much writing you do. That's going to do the heavy lifting to make sure that your book is a smooth read. And then you want to have a proofreader, which is the other side. So it's like we've got the editor over here, and then the proofreader or the team of editors, and then the proofreader to make it very clean. And then the last piece is the copywriting, the back cover copy, the sales copy, or the marketing copy. The stuff that goes on the back cover of the book also goes on your sales page on your retail platforms. So making sure that your design is indistinguishable from traditional publishing, making sure that your book's manuscript goes through the editorial process just like it would if you had a traditional publisher, and making sure that your sales copy converts your prospective readers to readers because they understand what's inside the book that could benefit them.
So, one of the things you and I have spoken about previously as well is the quality of the book and the length of the book. And I think that there's a lot of hangups with that. Now, I believe personally that the book needs to be a good book. I
Yeah.
love that you said there's an extensive process with it. But
Yep.
some people, I call this the knowledge vomit, Honorée. They just take what's in their head and then they garble it out and they go like, yeah, well, here's the book. That's not really the way it works. It has to be really well structured.
Right.
So how do we go about this process of making it a good book? What is a good book? And is there like, does it have to be a certain length? Because there's many books that I have read, and I can tell you the point in the book about halfway in when I hear the voice of their editor saying, you need to write more. And then suddenly there's like something happening in the book. And I can even take my finger and point to the page where this is happening. I was like, well, what's happening here? It's like, it was such a great flow. And then suddenly it feels like somebody's extending the book needlessly. Is that because books need to be a certain length?
So I think this again is the conversation about traditional versus indie a little bit. It's a little bit of a conversation because if we're in traditional publishing, and I know this just because I talk to my friends who are in traditional publishing, so it's just a kind of a factual conversation of if we want to have a list price of $24.99, then we can't have a skinny book because people don't pay $24.99 for a skinny book, right? They want a hardcover book with lots of pages, and a hardcover book with lots of pages has lots of words in it. And so my rule of thumb when I'm talking to someone is you have to solve the problem and or help the reader capitalize on the opportunity that is the promise of the title of the book. And it can be 11,000 words or it can be 11 million words, somewhere in there, right? I say the average size of a business book is between 30,000 and 70,000. But I, like you, have gotten to the point to where we've answered the question, we've solved the problem, we've given the recipe, we're good to go. And then it's just repeating,
Looping.
repeating to make it thicker so that someone feels like their
Something.
money has been well spent because they have an amount. But I'm with you. It's quality over quantity. My shortest book is 11,000 words. My longest book is 90,000 words. And I think one of the things that people will say about my books, whether I've written them or I've produced them, is that I get straight to the point. Like I tell you what it is that you need to know so that you can put the book down and get on with your day and either solve the problem that you had, why you picked up the book, or capitalize on the opportunity that I'm presenting in the book, right? So you must write a book, you must market your book. I'm providing an opportunity. And so readers don't want to read 300 pages. They want to read 150 pages, or if they can, 15 pages, right?
I mean, to me, at this point in my life, that's really where I'm at. I'm going to buy something because, especially a business book, because I want the information. And people may dislike me for this comment, but I remember when I read The Outliers and the concept of the 10,000 hours, there literally was a part in the book where it became absolutely useless. The second part of the book was completely useless. The concept had been made. It was done, and that's where it should have ended. It would have been a much more powerful book. And then it felt like the book just got diluted with all this other artificial stuff. So, having said that, I'm not going to, I mean, of course, I just judged all that. But so I can't say I'm not judging it because I just did that. That was a complete lie. But I do believe that there's an honesty. And that's always what I liked about the way you do things, because the short book, The Successful Single Mom, which I still have, is a tiny little book, but it gave you a lot of great stories of successful single moms.
Yeah.
And
including yours.
Thank you. And a single mom doesn't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so she's going to have maybe like 10, 15 minutes in between driving, waiting, picking up, waiting until the practice is finished. So you've written this book in short stories so that a woman in that situation would be in the pediatrician waiting room and get one chapter in.
That's right.
I mean,
it was strategic in that way. In every single book, I have the thought process of the end user. So how long is someone going to have to read this? What's the problem that they want to solve? What's the recipe that I need to give them? What's the least amount of ingredients in the recipe that I can give them so that they can duplicate it? How can I leave my reader better than I found them as quickly and effortlessly as possible? And what does that look like? And then I proceed, right? I think some people just kind of go, I want to write a book. I was inspired with a book title. I'm just going to sit down and it's not judgment. It's, I don't live in the world of good, bad, right, or wrong. I live in a world of, is it effective or ineffective? If it's ineffective, I don't want to do it. if someone would have read my book, if a single mom would have read my book, but I would have handed them a 300-page book
Yeah.
instead of a 120-page book, they would have said, I don't have time to even start this. And it would have been left unread forever. But if it's a little book, someone just goes, well, I can just do a little. And pretty soon a little turns into a lot.
And I can put it in my purse because I think I remember it was not even available as a hardcover. It was a soft cover.
It's only soft cover.
So that you can put it in your purse.
That's right.
I want to shift now over to the marketing and, the purpose of this book. And we're going to do this right after this message. Thank you so much for listening to the show. This is Beate, the Growth Architect. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for your time. Have you ever wondered why your business is not growing as quickly as you would like it to be? Well, you may have a business growth blocker. And if you'd like to find out what that business growth blocker is, go and take our brand new quiz at growthblockerquiz.com. And in only a few minutes, you're not just going to find out what that blocker is, but also what to do about it. Again, go to growthblockerquiz.com. And now back to the show. And welcome back. It's Beate and Honorée, and we're talking about everything around books, specifically indie books. So now we talked about some of the concepts that go into writing the book, the kind of like losing the shame of having it to be a traditional publisher, that you can publish your own book, and some pointers on how to get that done. So now I want to shift into the importance, especially for business owners, right? So now I've written my book and now it's in my shelf. And now I need to get people to buy it or read it. What are the strategies now, and how can I make what I've now done to really hit the mark? Because a lot of people write the book and then nothing ever happens.
Right. So let's start with your expectation that your book is solid. It's great. It's going to help people, and you want to get it into the hands of your prospective readers so that they can do what it is you wrote the book for. So they're going to hire you. They're going to take your course. You're going to be a speaker for them, whatever that looks like, whatever's on the other side of your book. So we have to start with a positive attitude, obviously, and say, I have a good book. And there are people who want to read my book. And as authors, sometimes we are introverts, or business people were introverts. We got our education and we became professionals so that we didn't have to sell something. And now we have a book and we feel a little like,
oh, no.
I don't know, I'm a little apprehensive about selling things. Yeah. Everything I do, I always start with mindset. You got to work on your mindset. You have to work on your belief in yourself and in your book. And that could be a whole other conversation, but we're just going to assume for the purposes of this conversation, you feel great about yourself and you feel great about your book. And so then I want you to think about, there are 4 filters that you would run any marketing initiatives through before you market your book. So you must market your book. I have something called the book map. It's a book marketing action plan. And when I have someone put together their book map, or I put together someone's book map, one of the things that I ask them is, what kind of a person are you? Are you an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert? How do you recharge? And how do you feel about being out in the world? Now, some people, I'm not one of them, are like, put me in a room of strangers. I've never met a stranger. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to meet lots of people. It'll be fantastic. I am not that person. That's you.
I love it. Even better. By the end of the evening, I'll know a bunch of them.
Right. Now, I can do that because I used to do that in my background. I was a business and executive coach. And so I used to teach introverts how to network and develop relationships. So I can do it. It's not my preference. I would much rather be norm, right? Walk into a room of people that know my name and I'm hugging a bunch of people that I already know. That's fantastic. Walk into a room full of people that I don't know or I don't know well. I'll just get in my car and go home, hang out with my dog, right? So just you and I are different in this way, and our execution of our book map would be different. So this is a fantastic conversation. Then the second question to ask is, what's the job of your book? So what is your book's job as it relates to your business? Is it supposed to bring clients to you? Is it supposed to bring you royalties through book sales, or both? Or is there something else that the book is supposed to do? Is it supposed to educate your clients on something that they purchased already? Lots of different things that the book can be doing. lots of different opportunities for your book to work for you. And you have to know what the book's job is before you can put it to work, right?
I like that a lot. Yes, because, full disclosure. So my book is Happy Woman, Happy World. And I wrote that because very much like you, the beginnings, being a single mom and then having learned something and cracked that code and then selling my business to Bill Gates. And I really wanted to tell people that we're in a tough spot and overcome a lot of adversity, the story on what it takes, with perseverance and attitude to
Yeah.
make it out and give hope. Well, now that I'm so into business strategy, I'm looking at this book and I'm going like, we having a little bit of a mismatch here into what this book says compared to what I'm doing right now. So I've been having this voice, this next book of the business code already in my head. I've been working on that. And the pandemic came and the whole publishing industry went havoc. So to your point, yes, there has to be this element where you say, what does this book even need to do for me? So go ahead. I just want
Yeah.
to give a real life example on sometimes how something you're passionate about doesn't necessarily match the benefit that the book needs to have for your business. And that I like that you said you have to be very deliberate about that.
Yes. And also in the crafting of the book, but we're really about putting together the marketing plan. So the book is great and the book is ready to do its job and it's doing the right job, right? So we just have to know what the job of the book is. And then we add in what's your availability of time? How much time do you have to market your book? And then how much money do you have to put into your marketing? So when you run your book map and the things that you're going to do or not do through those four filters, if you don't have a lot of time, you're not going to go on a book tour. If you don't have a lot of money, you're not going to rent a billboard in Times Square. If you're an introvert, you're probably going to want to do things that don't require you to meet strangers, right?
Shocker, real shocker here. Yeah.
Yep. And if your book's job is to bring people to your business, then your book needs to be in motion. A book in motion is money in motion, and a book at rest is money at rest. And so when you think about, I have to keep my book in motion. Like I just gave away 40 books today. I gave away 10 copies of 4 different titles. And I felt like I could do a little hair flip, like books are in motion. Honorée, you did good. Like I got them out there because I had them here in my home office, and they were at rest. And now they are in motion. And those 4 books, all different titles, are going to do the job, hopefully, that they are supposed to be doing because they are in motion.
When you told me this for the first time, I didn't even know what to say about that. I'm still sort of a little speechless about this because everybody who writes a book goes like, well, I want people to buy the book. I want people to buy the book. But you say in motion. So tell me about why that is important, that it's not necessarily, and correct me if I'm not hearing this right, it's not just about making the money on the book. It's about getting people to read the book. Is that what you're telling me?
Right, yeah. Yes. Yes, because how many books do I have? Do I have? Not do you have? I'm not asking you to throw yourself under the bus. I'm saying how many books do I have on my Kindle? That's one stack of the two TBR, right? To be read. How many books do I have on my bookshelf to be read? How many books do I know will come into my life because I'm in the book business that are to be read? And so it does not help someone to share your book. And I have another book coming called The Best-Selling Book Formula. And one of the elements of a best-selling book is it's easy to share. And if someone can't share about your book and how great it is if they've never read it.
Yeah. And can I just give you that plug of like this amazing thing that you've done with Hal and the Miracle Morning on the piece that really put him and you on the map for creating this amazing concept and helping with the publishing. And now it's like, my God, it's like all over the world. I mean, it's affected millions and millions of people. Do you want to just share a little bit about that? Because I think it's such a great success story that it deserves its own mention.
Well, so speaking of sharing a book, part of the brilliance of what Hal did with the Miracle Morning, and I write about it in the best-selling book formula. I actually sent the book to him. I sent the manuscript to him and I said, here are all the places that I mention you. And, if there's any part of like, you're a genius and this is amazing that you want me to take out, just let me know. Like, I'm just letting you know it's coming. But he wrote a book and included a formula that people could follow that would help them not to necessarily get up earlier, but to get up better, to take control of their day and to understand that success started with their morning. And then he shared the practices that he had discovered when he had gone through a rock bottom. And then he wrote and published The Miracle Morning. And then we connected and I helped him to co-create the book series, which has then been translated into, I think, 39, 37, something like that, 30 languages. So all over the place. I have all these books in all these languages that I do not know on my shelf that are titles that I have helped to create in other languages, which is very, very cool. And so what you want people to do is to read your book and to take action on what you've provided in the book so that they can either solve their problem or capitalize on an opportunity, right? And I think The Miracle Morning does both. I think it helps people to solve the problem of not being as successful as they would like to be and capitalize on the opportunity of what is it that you could be if you took control of your morning and your day and your life.
Yeah, and hope and the community of people that are like-minded and a very supportive community. And, I mean, I know how from before the concept was started, we were in the same mastermind together. And I remember him standing on stage and talking about this thing. And then suddenly a year later, this idea was born and it just went, I mean, it was unbelievable. So I wanted to just mention that because I want to make sure that you, our listener, you really pay attention to that. Sometimes when we talk to people that are very successful or have been involved in some of these things, it didn't start out that way. It started out with like one small idea, and now you are a known authority on the subject of books. You educate, you train, you work privately with clients, helping them to figure this out. So let's talk a little bit about that. For somebody who's heard this and said, okay, Honorée, tell me, what are all the pieces that I can have from you? What are they?
Oh gosh, well, thank you. That unexpected question. So I have a couple of different ways that I work with people who want to become authors. I do have a series of courses based on you must write a book and you must market your book. So I have publishing PhD. And this is for someone who wants to understand the publishing process, the self-publishing process. They want to do it themselves, but they don't want it to look like they did it themselves, right? So they need a team of people, and I teach them who they need to have on their team and make those introductions and then walk them through the process so they understand how to craft, write, publish, pre-launch, launch, and start to market their books. And then Book Marketing Mastery is the course that goes with you must market your book. And then I have you must monetize your book coming out in the fall. And that goes with my course, Building $1 Million Book Business, which is all about the monetization piece. Because what I think authors don't consider a lot of times is what you said. I just want people to buy the book. And you don't. You want people to buy the book, read the book, and talk about the book. So that other people buy the book, read the book, and talk about the book. And it's a self-perpetuating thing. What a lot of authors don't think about are the other opportunities to monetize their book, to turn their book into income. So you can have book royalties. You can have a companion book. So I have the workbook. I must market my book workbook. I must write my book workbook, because there might be a way that your readers can implement immediately what you're talking about. And you want to give them a place to do that and guidance to do it. Or you can create a course, or you can create a keynote, or you can launch a business around it, all those things. And I've done all those things. And now I get to teach people how to do it. And so that's the book workbook course part of my business. And then I have folks who are busy professionals, people who are founders of businesses in the C-suite of companies. They have more money than time, and they want to become authors, and they know it's really important, and they want to engage someone to do that for them, but they don't want to go through any other publishing route. Like, they want to own all of the rights, the royalties, the control. They want to, they're entrepreneurs, they're successful people. They're used to being in control.
In charge, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, in charge. And so they don't want to do it on someone else's timeline, with someone else's book title, with someone else's input. They want to do it in the least amount of time possible, and they are willing to pay for that. So I do offer a custom publishing process for folks who are wanting to do that.
Yeah, and I want to make this very clear, because I've known you for a long time now, is that if you are just dabbling in this, go get the books and start there, go to the course, learn to understand it. And if you call her for the private stuff, That's serious. That's the get stuff done a moment in your life where you're really going to
Yes,
progress with that. This is not dilly-dallying. You're not a hoper. You're a getter
that's
doner.
right. That's right. I did show up at a client's house with his book because it came to me and I did the review of it, right? I take care of all the details. So I call it automagically becoming an author. And so
Yes.
I called him and I said, I have something for you. Can I come over? And he was like, sure. And I showed up and handed him the book and he was legitimately like, it's a real book because I said, what did you think was going to happen? And he said, so many times in business or in life, people tell you that they're going to do something and they don't follow through. They don't provide not only what they promise, but more than what they promise. They don't provide what they promise or more than what they promise in the amount of time. So here you are, 10 months into a 12-month process, already delivering my book to my front door, which it lives not very far from me. But I was able to automagically turn him into an author. We used a ghostwriter. She wrote the book. I quarterbacked it from there. And I showed up with the book. And he was legitimately surprised that it was actually a book. So yes, I am a getter doner. And I always try to overestimate the amount of time so that
Yeah.
I can underpromise and overdeliver instead of the opposite of that.
Yeah, I love that. No, I mean, and your track record certainly proves it. Honorée, this has been so fun to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so openly all your secrets.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Beate.
And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for listening and watching to the Business Growth Architect Show. And please take this and share it with one other person that needs to hear what we talked about today. And goodbye. And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Gillette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.